Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Suzette Vearnon, and I am so excited to be here on this beautiful Monday morning. It's the first day of April, y'all. And while some people see it as April Fool's Day, it's a special day for me because on April 1st, oh my God, several years ago, I can't think of the exact year, but on April 1st, I would say about 6 years ago, let's see, 2012. That would be about 7 years ago. Wow, it's been that long. But I ended up signing a contract that allowed me to be 100% self-employed on April 1st. Isn't that funny? Hi, Anna. Hi, Francisca. It really convinced me that God has a sense of humor because I thought to myself, who else but him would allow me to attain a sense of freedom that my soul longed for on a day that people call April Fool's Day. But it was one of the best days for me. And so I am celebrating. I am celebrating that today, as well as doing my post Enough Factor podcast commentary. It's something I decided to start doing when I started podcasting, because sometimes you're in the midst of podcasting, whether it's your solo podcast or you have a guest with you, and you think of these things that you're like, wow, I would sure love to just comment about this or to really unpack it a little bit more. So I decided to do that. And so thank you for joining me this morning. Hi, Morris. Nice to see a guy up here. I always love to see guys as well as my sisters and my Facebook community joining me. I know for some of you, this is your lunchtime. For others of you, you're in your offices and so forth. And I just thank you, those of you that join me for just a little while. I appreciate it. I want to, first of all, thank my special guest on my episode, the one that just posted on yesterday. By the way, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, you will want to. You can find it on www. I have it in the description. It's in bit.ly. That's the short link. So it's already there. You can check that out. And I encourage you to do so if you haven't, because it was good. So I wanted to acknowledge and thank and send some cyber love to my sister, Andrenee Boothe, who was my very first guest on my podcast. This was only episode number 3, y'all. And it was so wonderful. Hi, Rozelle. It was so wonderful to share that virtual sacred space with her. And our topic was choose you first. Many of us choose ourselves ultimately, or when we feel pressured by life to do so, but cultivating a different mindset of self-love and enoughness. And that's choosing you first, not last, but first. And so she dropped some fantastic, I see some love there. It's resonating. But she just brought such a fresh perspective to celebrating who you are that would be a wonderful way for you to start your Monday, start your week out with that in your head. Instead of, oh God, I got to go to work and deal with these people again. But to really set a different mindset so that you can set a different intention. And so I wanted to just kind of hover there a little bit. As a matter of fact, there were several things that she said, that made me go, that was a little gnat flying around my head. I'm sitting in my dining area, which is right here where the sunlight comes in so beautifully. And I have all my plants around me. So, of course, a gnat or two might fly by my head. So if you see me do this, it's just because a gnat just kind of flew in my face. But anyway, there were a couple of things, a couple of moments, things that made me go, And I'm going to share a couple of those with you. And then I'm going to unpack one that really, really resonated with me. Some things that made me go, from yesterday's episode was some things that, and they all are things that Andrenee said, okay? When you don't know the value that you bring, nothing will ever be enough. She also said, when I realized my inner critic wasn't going anywhere, I realized I had to have a different kind of conversation with her. Ain't that yummy, y'all? And I'm not going to give all of it. I'm not going to spill all the tea. But another thing she said was, God is not holding any grudges against you. God is not mad at you. Just a couple of things that made me go, just yummy. But the thing that I want to talk about in my commentary today, however, was something that happened outside of our recorded session. You know how you have the conversations with people, and sometimes the good stuff happens before you hit the record button, right? And so we were talking after it was over, as we were going, yay, this was so good, yay, I loved it. You know, all the things that you say. But she said something that spoke so much to me. We were talking about how sometimes our inner critics can sabotage our sense of joy in what we do. And that's so weird because a lot of us, the reason that we are, on our hustle and running after our dreams is for the joy, right? For the joy of giving, for the joy of experiencing or putting ourselves out there in a way that resonates with us and resonates with what our contribution is to the world, right? And so I was talking to her about how sometimes my perfectionist can take something that's so wonderful at first and end up making it a chore, And so I told her that one of the things that that resonated so heavy, spoke to me so clearly at the beginning of the year was about staying in joy. And so I declared this as my year of good enough. Not one where I got to be better than somebody else, just as good as somebody else, but staying in my own sweet spot. That what I see some love, that what I have to offer is good enough, right? And so one of the things that she said, which was for me. I mean, I literally went back in my chair. And I know she probably said, Lord, what's going on with the girl? She's about to faint. But what she said was, God loves a cheerful giver. And I had never, ever equated cheerful giving to anything other than giving my offering at church, or tithes, and when I used to tithe, but things like that. And I was just like, I thought, okay, God loving a cheerful giver meant I had to cultivate joy and happiness around the money that I put in the offering plate, right? That was the context. But when I was talking to her about staying in my joy, in my soul's joy, staying in the joy, she said, well, God loves a cheerful giver. Oh my God, y'all. That was just juicy to my soul, made me smile from my liver. Woo! I was like, God, so you celebrate me. You feel slap happy when I am cheerful in my giving, whether it's giving my time, giving my talent, giving my treasure, that you get something out of my cheerful giving. Wow. So it really was, it really reinforced for me how important it is to stay in your place of joy, to stay in your place of joy. And for sure, this is not going to be very long because I just got a notification from my laptop that my battery is about to go. So this may be the shortest one yet. It says I have 16 minutes left. So I'm going to really hit on what this meant to me. And I made notes, so I'll stay on point. So what I thought about was, okay, Suzette, how do you stay in your soul's joy? How will you be sure to be committed to a place of staying in joy, even though you are a person who naturally has a strong work ethic? I naturally have a drive. I naturally get excited and invigorated by work, right? As long as I stay in the joy. So I said, okay, pay attention to when you're feeling like you're losing energy. Don't let reaching the goal or the benchmark cause you to stay too long to the point you start losing joy. Take your break when you need to take one. That's your body's telling you you've had enough right now. So don't set yourself up to have to go beyond where your joy wants to take you. That was one thing. So don't let your goal override that. Another thing was creating a space for joy, because there are things that we do that we don't normally like doing or want to do, but we know they have to be done, like balancing our checkbook. If anybody ever does that anymore, I think we do it online now. Or certain things that you have to do. You have to wash clothes. You have to, take care of certain things. And it's not necessarily fun for you. But how do you create joy? And I said, okay, I can create an environment that's joyful even if I'm folding clothes. So it really causes me, hi, Veronica, great rising. Hi, Jerome. Hi, Valentino. But I thank you for joining me, y'all. And I said, okay, I need to become more intentional, that even in the mundane tasks, to create an environment that's joyful for me. So those are two little nuggets that I want to share with you all as my little short commentary, because now it says I have about 15 minutes left. So in these final few minutes, I do want to invite you all, like I said, to listen to my podcast if you haven't. Subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. I'm telling you this because it really is good, y'all. I think this is some of my best work because it's inspired by joy. So you're getting the best of me, and the guests that have agreed to come on, I'm really thrilled about it. For those of you that have a story to share, and enough story that you believe the world needs to hear, hit me up. Let me know. Go to my website or either private message me, and we'll see if this is a good fit for us, okay? Because I love having great conversation with great people. I feel like some of the most extraordinary people, some of the most extraordinary work comes from ordinary people, okay? Unsung heroes, all that. Experts, unsung heroes are all welcome on my podcast. So To subscribe to it, the information is in the description part, right. And I also want to invite you all to join my Enough Factor Connect community. It's for podcast listeners, yes, but it is mostly for people who are on this enough journey where we are redefining for ourselves and on our terms what makes us enough in love and in life. And already the group is growing. There are such wonderful women in the group right now, and there's room for men too. I say a few heart connected good men who are on this journey as well of tapping into what truly makes them enough and defining it for themselves. Because one thing I've realized, if you don't define it for yourself, society, your culture, the world, folks that don't even know nothing about you or your story will define it for you. So you have to define what makes you enough yourself so you can thrive. Okay, I'm down to 11 minutes. I'm doing well. So I told you about that. Also, for those of you who say, well, Suzette, I'm not on Podbean, or Suzette, do I have is the only way for me to get on your podcast through online? Well, no. There are different apps out there, and there are different platforms. So you can find Enough Factor Podcasts. If you do a search, we are on Stitcher, we're on Spreaker, we're on TuneIn. I wrote it down so I won't forget. We're on Google Play Music. Yes, there's a podcasting thing going there. We just recently have been accepted on Spotify. So for those of you who love to listen to Spotify music, you can listen to podcasts on Spotify and look up Enough Factor Podcast. And Lord willing, y'all keep the prayers going. Point your hand this way. You know what? For real. I've submitted to iHeartRadio and also to iTunes. And from what I understand, it takes a little while for your submissions to get through there. But we are believing and waiting patiently, sometimes impatiently, but waiting to